William Constable has invented an aid for the navigation of ships to assist with the great adventure to the new lands led by Captain General John Hawkins. His involvement in the adventure is a cover in an attempt to unravel a plot against the Queen, but it seems the invention may have aroused interests and jealousies. We arrive at Oxford's place in town a few minutes before our appointed time. It is an imposing building of 3 stories, with the perimeter of land at the rear stretching to the River Thames. A manservant opens the door and is immediately joined by Courtney. He turns an inquiring head at Arscombe, and I introduce him as my friend and escort. He bids us both enter a spacious hall with finely carved staircase and gallery. We wait for some minutes while Courtney goes to inform the Earl of our arrival. He returns with another man who takes Arscombe through a door to our left, and I am led in the opposite direction by Courtney. We pass 3 doors to a large chamber draped with brightly coloured tapestries. Here stands the Earl, who, I will admit, cuts a handsome figure in white silk hose and red doublet. He stands with his back to the fire, which has the effect of edging his frame in flickering gold. I remove my cap, bow, and thank him for the honour of his invitation to this fine house. "You are welcome, Dr. Constable. And your friend, he is here because—" "We had business together, and he offered to escort me here, my lord. I have some difficulties on horse with my recent injury." I flex my shoulder as a redundant indication of my wrapped and injured arm. "Oh well, 'tis no matter. I will not take this as a planned impoliteness on your part." It is a curious statement. There is no questioning of my injury, yet he takes the company of an attendant to his door as an affront. He must know of Arscombe as a trusted aid to Walsingham. The tilt of his head and quizzical expression suggests that he waits for an apology, but I choose to ignore this inducement. "I am intrigued by your invitation, which declares there is an urgency to the issue." Yes. He adjusts his stance and brings his hands down from behind his back, then swings both arms loosely. It seems I have discomfited him in some way. "The planned great adventure of Gilbert and Hawkins is well known. It fires the imagination and zeal of those who would seek to enlarge the splendour and dominion of Her Majesty. It uplifts and adds the colour of heroism to the dreams of all true Englishmen." A return to his normal prettiness of speech is something of a relief. "I agree, my lord. It is a worthy and magnificent project." "I have it in mind to invest in the adventure, but to this point my advisers have argued against, declaring the hazards at the edge of our world may be too great to bear. Indeed, the risks of such voyages are well known. Yet there may be ways in which the ingenuity hidden in men's souls may surface and offer blessed release from some of these dangers." I murmur in a way that may be taken as understanding, but I have an inkling at the way his conversation turns, and I am wary. He says, "There is news that you may have designed an implement which could assist our brave pioneers in their explorations." I am not certain that I understand." He purses his lips and stamps his foot in a show of petulance one might expect of a boy less than half his age. He breathes deeply to aid composure, then claps his hands. "Come now, Dr. Constable, let us take a glass of sweet wine together so that our talk may flow more freely." A servant appears with a silver tray. Oxford hands me a glass of wine and raises his to indicate we should drink together. He moves towards a table and runs his fingers along the polished wood, while his mouth works to savour the wine. I understand you have a facility with mathematics, which extends to examining the exactness of heavenly bodies. Further, you have prepared a schematic which will enable a ship's navigator to translate these readings to a more secure position on the seas. You are well informed. I have begun work on the design of a mechanism that may be used for this purpose. Begun? Is it not complete? No, my lord. It is a complex apparatus that stretches my intellect. He drains his glass, then refills, without offering the same to me. There is an uncomfortable quiet while he sips from his glass and wanders back and forth along the side of the table. Dr. Constable, I am eager to assist these adventures in discovery and daring. I am impatient for your finished invention, and will offer my services to hasten your endeavours. I know of a fine craftsman who I will employ to produce your mechanism. He pauses and moves a paper, quill, and ink on the table in my direction. Meanwhile, if you will sketch your working pattern here, it will aid in the preparation for its manufacture. His intention is clear, the attempt clumsy and strangely inept for a man with a reputation for cleverness and silver tongue. I finish my wine and place the glass firmly on the table. It is a generous thought, which I will bear in mind. I regret that my current obligations will not allow me to exhibit an outline of the design, even for you, my lord. I thank you for this interesting exchange, but I have urgent matters at hand and must depart now. I bow stiffly, turn, and make my way to the door. Courtney is close by the other side of the door, and he starts back with surprise at my exit. I hear angry muttering and the sound of breaking glass behind me, but continue on my way. Courtney hurries after me to the entrance hall. I ask for Captain Arscombe to join me and that our horses be readied. I am abrupt and hot in my request, but care not. There is much scurrying and shouting as servants are called. Arscombe appears shortly, followed by 3 men who peer through the door and then retreat back into their chamber. Long minutes pass until all is ready, and we exit from an empty hallway. It is a short journey back to Westcheap. Arscombe looks to me for an explanation for the hurried departure and what may have gone before. I remain silent, wrapped in thoughts about the strangeness of the meeting and what, if anything, it may signify. When we arrive home, I ask the captain to sit with me for a while before he leaves. We settle in the library with a glass of claret. I say, it was a peculiar meeting, and confess that I find the company of the Earl something of a trial. I am pleased your engagement was short. I was in the company of several of the Earl's companions, who regarded me as a curiosity to be stared at. I was offered no refreshment or conversation. Arscombe does not question me on the subject of our meeting, and I feel obliged to enlighten him. It seems that he was informed about my connection with Hawkins' expedition, and sought to discover the workings of the new mechanism of navigation I have proposed. I pause to ponder again on who may have been the source of this intelligence. Could it be Hawkins or Gilbert? Miles, perhaps? Morton? Or Darby Wensum? There was mention of a potential financial investment as the source of his interest, but I have heard that the Earl has vexed Her Majesty because of his difficulties with money. It may be that he wishes his position to rise in her eyes through a reflection of the glory from a successful expedition. That may be true, but I suspect he may have considered there is financial gain through the manufacture and trade of the instrument. Well, Captain, I thank you again for your consideration of my security, and I am sorry that you did not have an enjoyable visit to Oxford's house.